Nutrition Hero Podcast. Igniting both the art and the science of functional medicine. Here's your host, Dr. Brad Watts.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Nutrition Hero Podcast. I'm Dr. Brad Watts. Welcome to the first episode of 2020, by the way. You made it. 2020. Man, I never thought about 2020. I thought about other years, but 2020 is interesting. It makes me feel a little old. But anyway, we're back here in the podcast lab making nutrition heroes. So thank you for participating. If you are a first-time listener, hit the subscribe button. Make sure that you are getting your media, whether it be iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, however you get your media. Make sure you get in the Nutrition Hero Podcast. And after a few listens, after we get to you, hit that 5-star rating, give us a thumbs up on YouTube, give us an opportunity to reach more people. So thank you for participating. Glad to have you as part of the family. All right, today on the Nutrition Hero Podcast, today we're going to be talking about some of the art of functional medicine, some of the things that I find are the unspoken skills that some of my favorite providers on the planet have. And if you don't get anything else out of this podcast, you're going to get this. Basically a rundown of some soft skills that if you can develop, you are going to make 2020 the best year of your functional medicine career yet. I guarantee it. Soft skills are where it's at. I'm talking relational skills. I'm talking delivery. I'm talking today specifically about timing. Timing is a skill. Timing is something that inherently people have, right? Inherently, and sometimes people inherently don't have it. They have a lack of this skill. But I did find that it's something that you can build, and so I'm excited to talk about it today because if you feel like you have the worst timing in the world, if you're the worst storyteller on the planet, you can't tell a joke, whatever it is, you can develop timing. You can. So think about your favorite comedian. Think about your favorite comedian or your favorite storyteller, even a book that you like. Sometimes novelists are the best at timing, the best. Think about somebody that has awesome delivery. And one of the things you're going to find is that, yeah, their jokes are funny, but the person is funnier than their own jokes. And that's all about timing, delivery. They can feel it. They know when to lay it on you. And functional medicine is no different. So one of the things that I find is that a lot of doctors are excellent at starting patients. They can get people excited and get people engaged to help themselves once again, because that's really what functional medicine is, right? Is you coaching your patients to help themselves so that they don't need you in the long run. It's kind of a weird business model, but the rest of the world is out there trying to make patients for life, and you making patients that ultimately can take care of themselves. That's a worthy goal. It's a worthy goal. Anyway, when we look at timing and we look at being able to engage with this, most doctors, as I was saying, most doctors can get patients excited, but very few doctors can keep patients excited because they lack the ability to influence timing. Whether you're starting a patient, stopping a certain part of your program, or whether you start working on a new mechanism, changing paces, is all about understanding when to do what. Now, in order to understand timing in functional medicine, you have to understand this thing, innate intelligence, that we always talk about on the podcast here. You got to understand innate intelligence. You got to understand the extent with which, or the extent to which it will work in somebody's body. If you can understand the extent to which it will work and kind of gauge, like, you know, a 7-year-old kid that gets a cut on their arm is going to heal faster than a 95-year-old kid that gets a cut on their arm, right? You understand that. What you're doing is you're understanding the timing with which innate intelligence is going to work in the given individual. Find those hints. Look for that. What if they have 2 7-year-olds? Which one's going to heal faster? Can you figure that out based off of observing the timing of innate intelligence in that child's life? That's a major clue to helping your patients in functional medicine. How long do you think it's going to take somebody to heal? 6 months, a year, a decade? Right? Timing, understanding timing is key to that. Now, there are other factors other than timing, right? But all other things equal, you got to be able to look at timing and be able to decide. If you're going to give somebody a 6-month program and it's going to take them 3 months to heal, you did a wrong thing there, right? That was wrong. You overestimated. Now, you don't want to underestimate either. How many times have you done that? I've done that plenty of times. Underestimate how long it's going to help somebody, or how long it's going to take to help somebody, excuse me. Timing. A sense of timing is something that you develop, and a sense of timing is something that you can also be born with. Now, some of my favorite functional medicine providers on the planet have impeccable timing. They know when somebody is ready. They know when somebody needs a change in their program. They know when somebody is on the edge of a breakthrough. They know when to push. They know when to back away. They have a sense of timing, and it's a relationship with that power that heals the edges of a cut together in your own life that allows you to experience timing. It is. So think of a good comedian once again. Think of a good comedian. The reason that they can understand timing, when to deliver a punchline that hits most of the audience the same way, is because they understand what's funny to them. They understand the mechanics of comedy in their own life, and they're banking on the fact that you are very similar to them. Okay, follow me on this. That's the same thing in functional medicine, understanding timing with your patients, when to push, when to back up. Can you put yourself in your patient's shoes effectively and communicate to them from that position? Do you know when to start? Do you know when to stop? Do you know when to back off? Do you know when to get animated and get excited and get that patient moving in the right direction? Do you know? Or has your sense of timing, maybe it's faded over the years of practice. The more jaded you become with the BS part of healthcare, maybe your sense of timing has gone, waved bye-bye with it. Maybe your sense of timing hasn't woken up yet because you haven't figured that out in your own life. I found that most of the time, the patients that I see in practice are a reflection of the understanding that I am having with my own health, my own humanity, my own brain, my own mind, and how those things work. Timing is key. Now, if you are somebody that is terrible at self-care, if you're somebody that is terrible at understanding why you feel the way you feel, you might have a hard time understanding this podcast. You might have a hard time understanding. It's so esoteric, Dr. Watts. What in the world? We need to talk about something that has an A plus B equals C. Because anybody can talk about A plus B equals C. Anybody. And you're going to think that your patients just don't get it. Right? But if you don't have timing, you're going to start 100 patients and you're going to have 90 of them quit. If you don't have timing, if you don't have a sense of self, a sense of what makes a person a person. Okay, so it seems weird that we're talking about this, but this is all about the art of functional medicine. Helping patients is really about you helping you. Can you do it? Can you do it? All right, so there's this thing in functional medicine when you're starting out with a program. How do I know when to treat somebody for 6 months, as I mentioned? How do I know when to treat them for 12 months? You have to be able to follow your gut. Your gut is what's going to tell you about timing. And maybe say it a different way. Your knower. You have a knower, right? Your knower, your BS detector and your knower are very tightly wound. They're like hand in hand, right? Your knower. When you know in your knower that somebody's going to need more time than 6 months to heal, you have to honor it, right? You know in your knower. All right, same thing when you're working with the patient in programming. So let's say we're treating somebody that has biotoxin illness and they have diabetes, and you start out on a biotoxin illness treatment protocol where you're working with binders and supporting the right antioxidant pathways and all the stuff, right? They fail their VCS testing, and if you're not into the biotoxin realm yet, you'll get there. But just follow me on this, okay? What if that biotoxin pathway supplementation, moving them in the right direction, what if that is not fixing the problem the way that you would have hoped? What do? Do you give up? Well, no, right? Or do you keep pushing? No, you have to adapt. Understanding the timing of how long should it take a 56-year-old person to reverse their diabetic situation. How long should that take? Right? Versus, well, it's been 6 months and we've moved from an 8.5 to a 7.5. We missed the timing. You're numb to the timing that needed to take place there, right? We are numb to that when you were supposed to change and adapt your programming. And so with a biotoxin illness, let's say it was 10% of the problem and we treated it 90% of the time. Patient's not going to get the results that you exactly wanted them to, right? 100, and you should understand that 100%. 100% of you listening to this should understand that if you treat something that's 10% of the problem for 90% of the time, your patients are going to have lackluster results. And I would say that a good portion of my practice over the years has been patients that have come from other functional medicine providers. Patients that got mediocre results, not because the doctor was doing anything wrong, it's just that they didn't have maybe the coaching acumen that they could have. Or perhaps they didn't adapt their protocols when they should have. The doctor lacked a sense of timing. Plain and simple. They lacked a sense of timing. And so one of the things that I've found along the way that allows me to help patients that may not have gotten help otherwise, and I'm sure there's doctors that have done that for my patients as well, right? I was numb to the timing. They go to another doctor and the doctor helps solve their problem and like the world's awesome. When we look at this, a sense of timing is a critical thing to develop. A sense of timing. Now, the same way that, the same way that a farmer with a poor sense of timing is a poor farmer, right? Because they're planting things in January and nothing grows in January and they're wondering why their harvest doesn't show up. It's the same thing with functional medicine, except your farmland is living and moving and breathing and has emotions and has its own agenda. Your farmland is your patient. And you're planting good food and nutrients and ideas and self-talk into that patient, looking for the harvest to show up months down the road, right? But if you suck at timing, you're no better than that farmer, right? That's planting things in January. Hopefully that word picture gives you an idea where we can just, I'm not going to define all this stuff today, but where you can just start to think about the mechanics of relationships and the mechanics of a relationship with with a relationship with the power that heals the edges of a cut together in the body, that innate intelligence. A sense of timing with that is pretty cool. All right. Now, when we talk about the mechanics of this as well in coaching, really it's about understanding where your patients are at. And there are a couple of questions that I've picked up over the years from people. One of them is Brian Tracy. That best question that I've found to use with patients to understand where they are in the spectrum of like the seasons, so to speak. Is it January or is it March? Are we ready to plant? Right? Is to ask a question, and the question is simply this: how do you mean? How do you mean? A patient has a complaint about something, a chief complaint about something. Maybe they have a headaches or something like that. How do you mean? I want to know what position that patient is coming from. I want to be able to sit on their side of the table for a minute and just sort it out. How do you mean? How do you mean? Use that. Practice that question. How do you mean? Right? And what that question does is it opens up a world of explanation. So now I can see where the patient's coming from, and I can understand if they are ready to move in the right direction, or if we have to work on a couple of things that give us an opportunity to move in the right direction. Do we have to set the stage more? Do we have to get into a position where they're ready to move forward? Whether you're coaching them in dietary changes, or maybe it's a wholesale functional medicine program, right? their patient's got to be in the right spot to be able to move in the right direction. And that question is something that I found to be very helpful. Additionally, when you want to find out more about where the patient's at, the timing that you find them, okay? Identifying, just observing and labeling, identifying where they're at is a very cool skill as well. Something like that. Seems like you're stressed out about that. You might be right, you might be wrong, but they're going to tell you either way, right? And that gives you an opportunity to be able to have some empathy so that you can help move them in the right direction. Not every patient is going to be a candidate for a functional medicine program. Some patients are not in the right position. I just think of somebody I was in communication with recently that they're not in the right spot. All right, family member, they're not in the right spot. They're in a spot where they're stressed out. They're in fear. They're not thinking clearly. Man, they are not in a right frame of mind to be able to change their lifestyle. They're not there. When you have like these episodes of up and down, mania and depression, and like they're not there. Right? They're not there. To be able to change something physically with that person, their lifestyle, their internal lifestyle has to change first. And so understanding that person's in January right now, if I start planning lifestyle change with them and manipulating their food and stuff, it's going to break them. Okay? It's going to break them. They're not in a spot that is going to allow progress. Understanding timing with people is a critical skill when you are in the business of coaching. You're in the information business is what you are. If I'm going to do something passive like adjust C7 for them, right rotated C7, it's different. Timing is not such a big deal. But when they have to change their lifestyle, timing's important to understand, and it's a skill. So super, super cool when you start to see timing. Again, it's weird, I know. It's like seeing colors, right? And it's like smelling colors when I say that. But it's a cool thing when you start to see it. So look at delivery, timing. Communication and pacing is also something that's important. The tone that you're delivering the content in is also something that's important. And it's all part of timing, understanding that what I'm planting hopefully is going to return results for this patient in the long run. Now, if you have somebody that's addicted, let's say you have somebody that's addicted to alcohol, and you start telling them about avoiding alcohol, and they're not willing to hear it because there's 19 other problems that got to get handled before that, right? You have a lack of timing. You delivered the heavy hitter, get rid of the alcohol, right, before you had the other issues under control with the patient. Timing is key. So it's just an example for you. Timing. All right. Now, one of the things that I like about the art of functional medicine programming is that you're never 100% expert in it. It's always something that you're working on because the person that you're working with is always changing. If you have a healthy and robust practice, the people that are coming in are always a little different. You might have commonalities because of how you advertise or otherwise, right? But the people's personalities are always a little different. And so it's a game of understanding where they are and can they heal. Does this person have the capacity to heal? Do they have the capacity to heal? Are they in March where we can start planting some cool lifestyle factors and moving them in the right direction and getting them actually healthy? Or is this person in the middle of winter right now and it's a lost cause? And I don't mean the person's a lost cause, but the actual starting a project, functional medicine project's a lost cause. And case in point, the alcoholic that has 19 problems that you don't handle before trying to get rid of the alcohol. This is something that I want you to start thinking about. And because you're thinking about it, you're going to start to notice it in practice. Your attention's really powerful. And when you start putting attention on this stuff, it's going to start showing up and you're going to start developing a relationship with that. It's like an unspoken relationship with something living in that person's body that's not the personality they're expressing to you. It's innate intelligence. It's part of who they are. But you're developing a relationship with that innate intelligence in them. Right? Now, once again, just to go back, how do we develop that relationship? It's by you developing that relationship with innate intelligence in you, understanding the timing. When do you get cravings? When do you feel like starting something new? When do you oppose starting something new? Challenge, right? Here's a challenge for you. Everybody in the functional medicine space here that's listening to the Nutrition Hero podcast, the entire Nutrition Hero podcast family, I challenge you to 100 push-ups every day for the rest of the month. 0.5% of you are going to do that. Why? Because most of you are going to have 19 different reasons why you're not going to do it, right? And this is a one-sided conversation, and I'm not understanding what those 19 reasons are individually. So understand that the same way that this is a one-sided conversation, oftentimes the way you feel right now when I tell you, you can do it, anybody can do it. Let's do it right now. We're starting 100 push-ups for the rest of the day, every day, for the rest of the month through January. Do it. We're just going to make it happen. No excuses, right? Immediately you have reasons showing up in your head and you say, well, he doesn't understand this, he doesn't understand. Your patients feel the same way because most of the time you're operating out of a paternalistic mindset with your patient. Do it. Just do it. Just trust me. You need this. Just go this direction. It's like having a one-sided conversation with the dude in a podcast. I can't hear what you're thinking right now, right? I can guess, but I can't hear it. I can't feel it, right? This is a really good picture here, okay? I'm challenging you, though, 100 push-ups every day for the rest of the month. I'll do it. I'm going to see if you can do it, okay? And then let me know how many of you are actually doing it. Let me know. You're not going to. You're not going to, because you have 19 problems that I have not yet solved before I introduced this resolution to your inactivity or to your weak upper body or to your inability to do 100 push-ups, okay? Super interesting. So that case in point right there. Anyway, when we look at this, I want to throw that out there for you in a way that is meaningful. So now that I start thinking about this, put yourselves in your patient's shoes in a different way. You're sitting at your desk in your office. You're telling your patients what they need. And your patient's sitting on the other side looking at you, not telling you what their objections are to starting something that's ultimately going to be helpful for them. That's powerful. That's powerful. How do you mean is the way to go. How do you mean? Explain that. How do you mean? Tell me more about that. How do you mean? Your patients will, if they want to, your patients will solve their own problems. They'll get there. They'll get there. If I have an opportunity to talk with you right now about the January 2020 push-up challenge, I can help you get there where you're going to join me in the push-up challenge. It's going to be beneficial for you. Ultimately, it might catapult you into something more fun and more exciting for February. Maybe it helps you lose 10 pounds. Maybe it motivates you to eat more appropriately because you don't want to waste all the work you already did today with your 100 push-ups. Whatever it is, I can find that out if we're having a conversation with empathy. How do you mean? All right, that empathy allows me to understand your timing. Timing allows me to understand what pathway and products need to go into your programming to move you in the right direction. It's so cool. It's so cool when you can sit down and map it out. But dig in. Let 2020 be the year where you actually dig in on your own health. Not in a way like, oh, I'm fine. In a way where you get emotional about your own health. Maybe get a little nostalgic about it. Maybe step back and sit there and be like, man, I'm 52 this year. I'm 52. What happened to the 25 years I've been practicing? Where did they all go? Right? Step back and see this. And then take a journey through those 25 years and see what's been there the whole time. What is one thing that's been there the whole time, hasn't left you? The power in your body that heals the edges of a cut together. Get nostalgic about it. Get emotional about it. What are you going to do with it this year? How are you going to relate to innate intelligence differently in your own life this year? It's the secret sauce, you guys. It's the secret sauce to being able to connect with your patients, to being able to understand timing more appropriately with them. Because you know how you relate to that power in your body, you can relate to that power in your patient's body. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Huh. All right. Man, that podcast went someplace I did not think it was going to go today. And anyway, thanks for participating. Thanks for coming along on that little bit of a journey. But I really want you to focus on timing this year. Dig in. Reconnect. Reconnect with that one thing. That one thing that we all have in common. You got to reconnect with that. It'll start showing you timing. It'll start giving you an opportunity to communicate with people on a whole new level. The same way that your favorite authors, your favorite comedians, your favorite storytellers have an opportunity to demonstrate that to you every time you listen to them. Goodness. I love it. All right. Thanks for listening to the Nutrition Hero podcast today. Enjoy the rest of your day, you guys.